But in the beginning, let me emphasize again, regarding two questions. The one is the grading thing, the discrepancies between Connect and Blackboard. So I talked to Rihanna in the beginning. That's something I think the most often message I received from the various situations. Sometimes when students submit their homework later, even with some minor deduction of the grade, but the Blackboard always shows 0. So that's like scare them. And other situation is for manually graded items, before I grade manually is normally probably showing like incomplete. So even you already submitted, so when you open, it's like you are opening a new homework. That's also scares some people. But that will be corrected after I finish my part of the grading and some other situations. But no matter what, when I summarize my grade, like the Connect average so far, I pull the grades directly from Connect, so not using the Blackboard one. I couldn't delete the Blackboard access because that really may confuse people. So I leave the access there, but don't worry about the Blackboard grade. Okay, I will let you know. Like the more accurate. Okay. So that's something. The purpose for me, they call this synchronized or like synchronized the two learning system, right? So learning platform should facilitate access. So rather than two access, but we have one login, so you can access both. But I just found some of this grading part doesn't work seamlessly. So I'm re-evaluating the situation. So, maybe in the fall, so I'm assigned for this course again. So I may ask people just log into the Connect directly to avoid this confusing on the grading part. So because that's really the most, I think, kind of like the question I received so far. And then second, I think under each chapter, so in the course contents in Blackboard, under the modules, the folder for each chapter, I should have a homework example Word file. The Word file, like not really all of the homework questions, but I believe most of them, especially the harder ones. So like for example, like people normally ask questions or there's some confusing parts. Even the question may not have exactly the same numbers because we all have algorithm questions, but you have the same name, like the company, the question structure. The only thing that might be different is the numbers. And that's actually the purpose, right? You don't just want to copy from the sample answers. You want to understand the question, like the approach, the formulas I should apply, and then go back to my own question so I can understand and apply it with that kind of additional help. Especially I developed those for online classes because I don't really see students in person, especially this asynchronized. Some people are kind of shy away. I know they have a kind of busy schedule, so I really don't know what's going on. No much feedback. So that's kind of my concern. So I just offer those resources, right? So like, for example, whenever you are trying to work on a question, you have problems, but you couldn't really access to the teacher, or like, in a very convenient time. Okay, so that's kind of the purpose. But anyway, so for homework, so the first question Rihanna mentioned, this is not a hard one, but I think this, because sometimes it may confusing for one of us, right, from a special way. But this is you can see we have 4 situations to try to module the contribution margin income statement of the break-even analysis, right? So because the first 5 columns, you construct or finish the 4 different situations of the profit calculation. And then as an additional question, we can solve the break-even sales for each of the situations. So for this one, I think the critical structure is you review the contribution margin income statement. Especially, we have the variable parts before the contribution margin, and then the fixed expense after the contribution margin. And the other thing is, I see many students, okay, or even like other situations, people tends to forget is the variable expense. Why we call variable expense is the total expense should change, increase or decrease in the same portion of your revenue increase or decrease. Because sometimes when they have a like a proposal or idea, like I'm asking, or I will increase my sales revenue by 20% or 15%, try to find out the new income. Or then when people start to calculate, they increase the revenue by 15%, or either by the unit price or sales quantities. But they forgot, especially the volume, they forgot to increase the variable expense accordingly. The volume between sales revenue and the variable expense should always match. If I have 1,000 here, then I should have 1,000 for calculating the variable expense. So that should be reflected in like different proposals, and we'll try to analyze the change on the net income. So let's see the first situation. So what's the missing number, I believe, is like the circled, right? So like this. So the first question, initially you miss the sales revenue, but we do have, I believe, so you should have the break-even sales and then the fixed expense. Because for me, as an instructor, my open is already there, okay? But you can open your if you like, okay? Not the numbers, but follow, so what I already know and what I'm trying to solve. So first one, I think the steps is here. You know the break even already, and you know the fixed expense. Then I can use the break even formula. So I'm not really getting the break even, but I use the break even formula to find out what the contribution margin per unit. I think you can see the A. Okay, it's not really. So can I couldn't really write, but so let me put it in the chat. So solve a missing number. This is actually, I like this question. It's really help us practice and understand the relationships. So I'm putting in the chat. So because normally we do this is break even equals to fixed expense divided by the contribution margin per unit, right? But in this case is we know the break even dollars, we know the fixed expense, but we don't know actually the CM ratio here, because if they use the dollars, it should be the ratio in the bottom of the formula. So we should be able to calculate the CM ratio. Let me see, double check one more time.
Dr. Wayne, can you show your Excel file?
85,000. Yes.
We can't see your Excel file. We're still looking at Blackboard. So I was gonna ask, can you switch?
I know. I'm not really using the Excel, looking for the chat because I cannot show both.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm looking for this one should be. Maybe let me think what's a better way. Yeah, maybe let me copy this into a Word or Excel so I can mark and, modify the numbers. Yeah, I think that should be better. Yeah, so let me open a new Word. Oops. Okay, I will stop, share this, and share my Word. Can you see this?
Yes.
Okay. So we have 4 different situations, and I'm trying to show this as a landscape. And the first one, the first situation, I believe you don't know the, because I'm also taking look for, so what do you already have in Connect? I'm dragging back here. Yes, the first one, the break even. So what do you know before? Oh, I can see. So asking A. Okay, because I'm trying to check, what do you know and what you don't know. So for number 1, this is a 1, right? This is a missing number. And so we work backwards. So if you know the net income and you know the fixed expense, so we can calculate the total contribution margin. Let me see. This is all screwed up, I believe. Let me move the numbers. Yes, now I think it's right. So remind me, because I'm looking for the, the answers, let me know if I talk something different, so what do you know and what you are trying to solve. So this one I believe is you are trying to solve this number, the total sales revenue. But we can work backwards. So net income plus fixed expense equals the vertical way is like this always, right? So sales minus the variable expense equals to the contribution margin. Then contribution margin minus the fixed expense equals to the net income. So for this question, we use you can see the contribution margin if you move around, right? So move the fixed expense to the right side. So you can find out the contribution margin, so 340,000 in my case. And then minus the variable expense should be, plus the fixed expense should be our sales revenue. Because this one you all needed to rearrange the formulas or like your calculation a little bit, because you need to move like the variable to the right or the fixed expense to the right so we can find the missing ones. Make sense? So if I'm listing, so those are the given numbers. So I'm trying to find out the sales revenue. So I would work hard. So if I do the calculation, so will be the CM equals to the 68,000 then plus the 272,000. And then the sales equals to the 340. We just found out for contribution margin, but to move the variable expense to the right. So that's 425,000. That's number A. You are trying to find number A for question number 1. Is this right? I'm enlarging.
My
And
hard time with number 1 is like when you don't have like the net income or the contribution margin, or like it's just kind of, for me, I'm struggling with, well, I don't have one to try to calculate the
oh,
other. Like
so let me know.
Okay.
So what do you do have in question number 1?
so like on question number 1 on the very
Mhm.
first row for like
Never reach out, Sophie.
I'm sorry. Oh. Okay, on row 1. So like I have variable expenses, and then I have my break-even sales, and I have fixed expenses. So I don't have sales revenue or contribution margin or
Oh,
net
okay,
income.
okay, I see. Because like, my way is showing, yeah. Then that way, like, we need to go to the like the original one we're talking about. So this one we can use the contribution margin, which this is more probably straightforward. Okay, number 1. So remember we have the break even like 85,000 equals to the total fixed expense, right? So you already know from here. And then we can find out the contribution margin ratio, right? This is the formula, but normally we use from the the other way. So we know the CM ratio fixed expense, we are calculating the break-even sales revenue. And now, so this is my CM ratio. You use the 85,000 and, oh, I'm sorry, 68,000 and divide by the 85,000, and I will have a percentage. It should not be larger than 1. Okay, that's why if I use 85,000 on the top, it will be wrong. So divided by 85, so it's just 80%, so 0.8, okay, or 8%. So what's the CM ratio? Then backwards, so CM ratio, that should equals to, okay, if I continue to write on my formula, CM ratio equals to CM, total CM, right? Divided by sales revenue. Do you have contribution margin?
The contribution margin I was able to calculate was 1.25, but
No,
or did you say it was supposed to be less than 1?
The total contribution margin.
No, I don't have a dollar amount for that. No.
Oh, okay. Let me see. Total contribution margin equals sales revenue.
So like you said, I was able to calculate 0.8 is my new calculation.
Oh, yeah, we got it. It's not from here. Okay, so contribution margin is 80%, and then that means our variable ratio is how much? Expense ratio is the rest of it, equals 1 minus 0.8, so that's 0.2. Because
Okay.
that's always, the 2 plus together. And now I think we can get the sales revenue, because the variable expense ratio equals to the variable expense divided by the total sales. You can see here, you know your variable expense, right? And then we can calculate. So for my case, my total sales will equals to the variable expense is 85,000 divided by 0.2.
Hello?
Did you see?
Well, I can't hear nothing. Hello?
Hello? Are you talking to me? Someone? Rihanna?
Oh, no, that was someone else. It
I
wasn't
know.
you.
Yeah, but can you see? I solved the question for number 1.
Yes. So
Mhm.
just to make sure you did you did the variable expense times 0.2.
Yeah, let me get. First, we found out the contribution margin ratio is 0.8, right? Then,
Right.
as a result, we can find out the variable expense ratio equals to 0.2 because those two, add them together, should be always 1. So if you know one of them, you know the other one. Then, variable expense ratio, the formula is variable expense divided by the total sales. So that connect me now to the total sales, and the sales should be the total fixed, total variable expense divided by whatever your variable expense ratio. You know, I have my numbers here, but you should have the same approach.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm gonna try it and
Yeah,
I'll follow
right.
back
Yeah,
up.
I believe. Yeah, I can post this later. You know, once we finish. Yeah, but I believe this is the right approach because I'm getting the right numbers. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, because I know this is for, yeah, so that is number 1, right? I like, you know, yeah, it's not really very easy, but it's really letting you practice the, you know, you fully understand, right? All of these relationships between, so use it in a flexible way rather than in always, oh, revenue minus, okay. But this is really back and first part and the whole. So it's
Gotcha.
yeah. And number 2, if my understand is right, so we know the revenue, we have total contribution margin. This is most straightforward. And we have the break even and we don't know the net income, right? So this one we can work directly from here. So first, I think we missed this. Yeah, let me just delete so we can know. Wait, this is probably what we know, and we have 2 missing numbers. Do you know, do you have this one? 35 is even like missed?
Yes. To answer
Yeah.
that one, wouldn't the net income be 0?
Yes, I think you already got it. Yeah, see, because for this one, first I need to solve this. Okay, number 1, I need to get my variable expense by taking the contribution margin from the sales revenue. So this will be 125,000, right? This is my number 1. And then because you see, you already observed the break even equals to the current sales revenue. So that means my net income at this point should be 0. Okay, this is exactly the break-even sales. And then the fixed expense on the break-even will equal to the contribution margin, right? So this one, you don't really need additional calculation if we fully understand. So, you know, catch on the 2 equal revenues. Yeah, just the break-even sales point. And number 3, we don't know the revenue. So this one is not known, and the fixed expense is missing, and the contribution, the break even, right? So if I label that's right, then check this one. Okay, anyone else? Even you finished the chapter 7. So we are talking about the first question in chapter 7 homework, filling the missing numbers. I believe even more, this is a good practice. Okay, rather than, oh, I just apply the formula, use the information directly. This really help you fully understand and use the contribution margin income statement flexible or in a flexible way. So if I know the three numbers and missing the other three, so which one I can get first? You wouldn't solve or find all of the three missing numbers. So which one I can find in the first step?
You can find your sales revenue first.
That's right. Yeah, so this one equals to, okay, if I can put, right, because I know the variable, that's like I put it here, right? I know the variable expense and know the contribution margin. So I will be able to calculate my sales revenue. It's just the addition of those two numbers. So that's, if I have it, how much? 328. For my number. Oh, then again, the sales revenue is done. Then fixed expense. Okay. So can I work on fixed expense or break even? Which one I can find first? I still have two missing numbers.
You can find your fixed expense first.
First, right? Because break even, we need the fixed expense to plug in. Okay, so this one you need to do this second as a second missing, and this is contribution margin. Contribution margin minus fixed expense equal the net income. So this is the same thing. I should add the net income with the the contribution margin minus the net income. So will give me how much? 55, right? So fixed expense is 55,000. So contribution margin, normally we do contribution margin minus fixed expense, got net income. Now work backwards. And after this, I can work on my break even, but probably I need to get a contribution margin per, right? So like a per unit, so I can, like a contribution margin ratio, because for the dollar values, right? So I'm putting this as is 3. So contribution margin ratio. So like you need this number additional in your scratch paper, okay, to find the break even. And this one equals to the 205,000 divided by the revenue. There is no way we can find the contribution margin per unit because I don't have the volume, like units information. Okay, but the ratio will be enough, okay, for the break even in sales. So divide it. I got 25. And now you can plug in here, right? So use your fixed expense divided by the contribution margin ratio. So got the break even in this case. Okay, in my case, it's 88,000. So 1, 2, 3. So step by step. And the number 4, I missed this, and break even. And but for this one, I think this is more, yeah. But this one, like I like this is you already can see we use the sales revenue and variable expense, right? So this is a minus, so I should be able to get the contribution margin. So simple. And then similar thing, I can find the variable fixed expense by taking the net income from the contribution margin. So this is 16,500. 500 fixed expense. But now you can work on the break even in sales the same way we work on number 3, because I need a contribution margin ratio. For this question of 36. 36 divided by 48. Oh, 75 of 75%. Okay, 0. And now you can calculate. Yeah, actually, I found out the first one seems to be the hardest one, right? So it takes more steps, and it's kind of challenging. Okay, the rest is actually better. And this one is 22. I'm sorry, yeah, 22,000. So first, step 1, step 2, and then step 3. But number 1, I really take a, I think a kind of a challenging approach. Okay, so I need to put a few formulas or knowledge together. Okay, so. And number 2 is more straightforward. So I can share the file with you later. Okay, once we finish today, so you can try. Okay, like use your own, to your own. Because I don't remember, did I put this question in the homework examples? But this is how, like step by step. Any question? So I mentioned in beginning, we don't really have new lectures. So this week we pretty much use it for review, practice, and also if you have any questions regarding the group case, right? So that's pretty much, we review the materials, more practice, so we can get ready for the midterm next week. Any other things I can help? So this is the first question. I think we have 4 questions in the homework, but do check the Blackboard under chapter 7. I should have that homework sample question Word file. Okay, you can probably check other questions.
Thank you.
No problem.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, no, I think I actually like this because yeah, just because I'm taking a online teacher training. Okay, like teachers training for teaching online courses. So I started from last fall. Is sponsored by our school, right? So like I volunteer. So it's like a volunteer. So I took the first bench. We are now in the second learning module. They have 3 different sections, and each section they have different modules. And last fall, we have focused on like how to motivating students, make equitable access, like, this platform resources, equitable access to students, and encourage a like productive environment, like this discussion board, like whatever. And I'm in the second module now, and so I'm learning. For me, a synchronized class, a synchronized online is the most challenging one, because you really don't know what's going on for, this lack of communication, lack of knowing each other by the face, right? So it's really getting large, the distance of, this miscommunication. So I'm trying to minimize, so applying some of the techniques okay, when appropriate our class. So they said, oh, what I'm thinking, like I'll have a video introduction, so require a video introduction of each of the students and post it in like Blackboard, for example. So I didn't do in the beginning, so I kind of thinking, oh, just do it in the middle of the semester, maybe not really welcome, right? So it's kind of like making up. But the point is, I really like more feedback. You know, I know all of us have busy schedules, right? So it's optional meeting, but I really encourage if you have any other questions, not only grading questions. Okay, so welcome. Okay, you are more than welcome to, you know, connect with me. And if you have a specific question, like, you know, you cannot really come to this meeting time, we can make a Zoom, like a virtual appointment. Okay, we can make like a Zoom appointment, which fits your schedule. Okay, like going a homework or question like this. Okay, so I'm available. I normally offer like a general virtual office hours, but the thing is seldom, rarely people come. Okay, it's become kind of a, so I'm just saying, when you have an individual situation, so we can, you know, address it, okay, like case by case. So any others? Because I did planning to talk about something, so but I will give the time first for questions.
I don't have a question in regards to the homework, but I do have a question in regards to the upcoming project.
Yes, go ahead.
So I just want to make sure the correct due date is this Friday, March 1st, and not tomorrow.
No. It's I extended it to Friday, because this is the first group, and got some glitch like on, you know, that's like I mentioned, some students didn't respond in time, like to the connection request from myself and from the group members, so it's delayed a little bit, you know, on, you know, this so I just give extra time, right? So it's really flexible, not really much flexible, you know, but the thing is, you know, I want to give you adequate time, okay, to work on the case and really learn, study. That's the purpose, rather than, you know, rush to finish. So if you really need additional time, for example, I need additional time, a day or something, you know, to complete before Friday, also let me know. Okay, so
Okay.
I normally feel comfortable. That's also something I learned from online. You know, they said, oh, give grace or flexibilities, right? You know, on submitting the assignments. Oh, I said, oh, this is something I have been doing always. So, right, so because they give you a like we really need to like follow, you know, it's really like I'm taking an online course, right, for myself.
Mhm.
Yeah, like I watch the videos, like, you know, so I answer the surveys and tell them how I'm going to implement, like, you know, the different strategies into my own classes. They give you choices that they say, oh, yes, I already know this. I plan to implement. Oh, yes, I already implemented, but I can adjust. Oh, you can say no. I learned, but I couldn't implement because my class is unique. Okay, so we really need to follow the protocols. But I can tell you, I'm already late. I should have one submission yesterday, but I haven't.
Gotcha.
Yeah, so, yeah, it's funny because the writing summary, like, you know, we have one module per week, and the
Mhm.
submission, the due date is normally midnight on Sunday. So having been procrastinating for the past 3 weeks.
Ooh.
Because so you are
Oh,
better than
wow.
me. Yeah, you are better than me. So it's because there's so much going on. So much.
I can only imagine. We're all
Yeah.
students, so I can only
Yeah,
imagine.
but I'm trying to catch up. Yeah, so I will finish like by tonight. Okay. Yeah, so I will be on time for next assignment. Okay, that's my plan.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, thank
No
you so
problem.
much.
Mhm.
Wow, thank you.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, okay, like you know, it is really like happening. That's like nature, okay. But just I'm saying, but even I'm late, but I still need to make sure I catch up, right? So like the learning is the eventual thing, you know, is really the thing matters in eventually, right? But anyway, so how about if we have but if you have any questions, just pop up. Okay, but let me show probably something I want to share for today. I was planning, okay, to share. One is the CVP graphing, which I didn't really have time to talk about last week. And another a case study which I sent out early today. It's not homework, so it's a case. It's a problem, I believe. Is a CVP analysis of application to the healthcare, a hospital. I think this maybe also give you some thinking about the group case. Even it's not a urgent or emergency care, it's focused on the like break even, contribution margin, but still can give you some thinking about the differences between the healthcare and like when we give examples, I normally use a traditional manufacturing industry. Okay, that's kind of different. Because for healthcare, when you analyze, it's very hard in the beginning, you know, the individual, like a patient charge, right? And then like the total cost for each patient. So rather you have the total, like not like the charge parts. So it's not really how much we want to charge, it's how much the insurance paid, right? Plus some of my additional cost recovery. That's probably you already read from the articles I shared. So the pricing strategies in healthcare these days, based upon the traditional costing system, is really not really helpful for decision making. So the pricing in most times is not really tied or based upon the actual cost they provide the service to the patients. Okay, that's something they are trying to correct, use the ABC or whatever the modified ABC. So give the management some new idea for matching, right? Like matching the pricing decision and the cost and an accurate costing system and then the pricing strategies. Okay, that's something. So you continue to read and we can discuss more or if you have further questions. But let me share this quickly. Okay, the CVP chart, then we can get into the problem. My meeting control. Okay. I stop share and so this is one you saw initially I was trying to share in the beginning of the class. When you read the smart book, probably you already noticed after they introduce the formulas like contribution margin, the income statement, the break-even formulas, margin of safety, I believe they started on talking about the CVP graphing before the operating leverage or more examples. So the graphing is a very helpful tool rather than the table because especially when you try to present our results to the users, like to the managers in an interactive or like dynamic, okay, presentations. So most of the times you can use a graph to show directly what we have found. So let me enlarge this. So I made this by myself. Is another example, or I don't know, I shared this or not in the chapter 7 materials. If I haven't, I will do it. Okay, put it in the Blackboard under the course content. So this is like a bicycle, similar to the surfboard we talk about from the book. Okay, you have like a bicycle. The price is almost similar, I believe, like just they call like bicycles. So your unit price unit cost, okay, making the bicycles, then contribution margin per bicycle, then the total fixed cost. So I believe the numbers are identical to our book examples, just the product is not a surfboard. So based upon this current condition, right? So you can this is really similar to what we talk about for the homework example. You see, right? I have different levels of the sales volume, but in the homework, we don't really have the volume. We direct talk. So we have this part. Right. Sales revenue, variable cost, then contribution margin, fixed cost. Then the reason I summarize a total cost is for me to draw the graph, right? So in in the homework, we didn't really have a total cost. So the total cost is variable plus fixed cost. For me is making the graph purpose. Then we have the net operating income, which is like the profit. So you summarize the different levels of the profit, like we have, the volume starting from 0, right, or increase. So at 400, we break even. And I intentionally have a 401 showing like 1 additional units beyond the break even, right? So you just make a unit contribution margin as your profit. With this is your unit contribution margin because we have 1 unit above the break even, right? And after that, we accumulate, right? So we will accumulate more contribution margins. So I have 2 more units, will be 400. 3 more units, 600. So until we reach 500, which is the current volume, we have 20,000 in total. And this is actually 200 times 100. Because we have per unit contribution margin and plus multiply by the additional 100 units, and this 100 units is your margin of safety, right? So safety margin. So how much we are above? So we have 100 above the break even. So that's your safety margin. Or they call margin. Or this is the break even. And this is you have a margin of safety. And if you continue to rise your volume, we have more. Like when we raise to, I think we talk about, or if I only increase my sales by another 100 units, I can double my profit, right? So this is because of your operating leverage. So if you have a high operating leverage, the net profit will increase much faster than your revenue increase. So you have more leverage on the profit side. So this is like the table, but when you want to present to your managers, like the CFO or like a chairperson, right? They don't want to look for our tables, but you can see I can construct a chart. I can use Excel to do this quickly, or use other like those, I believe like SPSS or Tableau. And even I saw some articles talking about use the Python. Okay, you can use coding directly to do the CVP analysis. But based upon the columns I'm putting here, the yellow ones I highlighted. This line, the blue one, starting from the orange, okay, I can use like different colors, but this is my sales revenue. Total sales revenue. Okay, move on. So starting from 0, right? And then for each 100 and their corresponding revenues. And then the yellow flat, probably you already guessed, this is my fixed 80,000 fixed expense. Then above that, the other blue line is my total cost. Okay. So sales revenue, fixed cost, then total cost is showing on the graphing directly. So I can directly see how the revenue will change or over time, and the cost will change over time. The fixed cost will stable, but because of the variable cost, so this line is I didn't label the line, but this is your total cost, not only the fixed variable cost. Okay, so this line. Oh, I'm sorry, no, not this one. Is this. And this is your total sales revenue. So that's, you already see how we can earn profits and how we can break even. That's all clearly shown by the lines and the areas between the lines, right? So initially, you can see the sales revenue, in the developing stage, when we have low sales volume, the sales revenue is below the total cost. That's the loss situations. So the areas, you can see initially we have a large loss, and it turns to be narrower and narrower because the region, like this triangle, right, so below, between the total cost and the revenue is your loss zone. But the loss is getting squeezed as we're approaching the break-even point. So as we reach the break-even, 400, the line cross each other, sales revenue and the total cost. So that's why it's break-even. And after that, the sales revenue, you can see, is higher because that's your sales price per unit, like the slope. So slope represent your unit price and your unit cost. So the slope of the price is higher, and this is like 500. And the slope of the variable cost is smaller. Okay, this is like 300. So that's guaranteeing or secure the companies when we once we reach the break-even point, and after that we can start to make profits. If your unit price lower than your variable cost per unit, you never can get a profit. For example, if I have a sales item, right? So I need to really discount my price to get rid of the inventory, right? That's like the case. You will have loss. So you can minimize your loss, but you never can earn profits. So after the break even, we start to earn profit. Initially, we only have one contribution, like 200, 400, 600, it's getting larger and larger. And then with 500, you got 20,000. And then this profit doubled when we reach the 600, right? So this is a very interactive. And I think if you can, really link the graphing to your tables, whenever I change, it can become a what if analysis. So for example, if I change my sales revenue, let me try. Okay, for example, I change my sales revenue to 510. You can see my tables got changed. My break even, I will have like lower break even. And but I don't know this one is changing or not. Did I link the graphing to the tables yet? Okay, that's a technical part, but that's kind of what if analysis or sensitivity analysis, right? You heard about, right? So that can really tells me I have to increase my variable cost per unit because of inflation of the materials. You can see is again, okay, changing, right? So if I increase my variable expense, you can see my old break even couldn't break even. I have to increase my break even, again, because if I still have 400 something, I still have loss. So the revenue is not enough to cover the variable cost. Or I can say, oh, I need to cut off the fixed cost, right? When we decrease the fixed cost, achieve some cost saving, the profits become better looking again, right? So this is really interactive. So in real world, when you probably already did this, right? So when you work on a decision or case, it's not really like the way we answer the homework, right? So it's more like this worksheets, data analysis with visualization involved. Right? So that's something I want to show you. And also there is another graphing or in addition to the whole CVP. And the bottom one, this graphing only focus on the profit, or is a single line for profit and the volume. Okay, this one you directly looking for the loss. Below the horizontal, like the X, like axis, is your loss because you are charting or showing the net income only. Okay, this line, so this column, so it's showing our graphing like the profits change, the graphing for the profit, right? This is your break even. So I didn't really link them dynamically with the table, but I can do that. Right. So 400 is a break even, below that is loss, and above that is a profit. Okay, but this one, so you can do both. So depending on the purpose. Okay, this one is more focusing on the profit or loss regions, and this is the overall CVP situations. Okay, so we can even check the what do we say, the margin of safety, right? So if I see here, and this is my margin of safety, right? Because this is my break-even line. So as I increase my sales volume, my margin of safety is going up, right? So like this is so something. Okay. Again, I didn't really ask this as a homework. Maybe for a face-to-face, or maybe using this and maybe as a group study case. Okay, I'm thinking about it, but that's something I think is more linked to you for the data or technology point.
I'm okay with this being a case study. I can follow
Okay,
this.
okay, yeah.
I can follow this.
Right, yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I think this is more fun. Yeah, more fun for me to
Yes,
play.
it
Yeah,
is.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
very fun. Yeah. And that's in the meantime, yeah, is also because like we have like the teaching conference for email, yeah, because we didn't meet last Thursday, all because of the teaching conference, and the topic for the teaching conference is ChatGPT, AI and technology in teaching and research. I like the topic because I never used the ChatGPT. I never gave a thought, but I found it's quite, you cannot just resist it, right? So it's coming, but you need to bring it into the teaching in a positive way. The same thing as technologies. I like the new technologies. I teach accounting information system. Also, I use SAP, Tableau. I all learned by myself, by attending the, some faculty workshops or watch the YouTube videos. We have lots of free resources. So I basically, and Excel are still doing, I think most of the job, they still use Excel a lot, right? Like, rather than the really the advanced ones in these days. So if you can sharpen your Excel skills, I think that's I think it's still very helpful for dealing with any type of, I found the Excel in itself is becoming more and more powerful as they incorporate lots of the data analytics and even sometimes like the AI. Okay, they have the AI point and machine learning in Excel. So if you use like this data, you can see on the data and even Power Pivot, you can do lots of things, right? So even like you can use it as a database management to analyze the data analytics and the visualizations. Okay, I will definitely think about, okay, incorporate some of these in our next group case. So if you are all interested.
Okay.
Okay, and then, okay, finally, let me go into here. So just 10 minutes something. So I'm going back to this. This is an original word. Okay, I said, there is a case. I kind of like a problem in chapter 7. I didn't assign this as a homework, but in later, I will explain it briefly. But if you have interest, you can dig more later. Because this one you really need to read it carefully and put yourself in the condition of like this healthcare hospital renting your bed, like bed capacities or to like another to some clinic, right? So they talk about either medical center. So ABC costing system is very critical in the healthcare industries, but you kind of apply it, you have different focus or difference than the manufacturer companies, right? So because the service industry, we mostly handling like patients or customers like hotel and restaurants, right? So we are dealing with service with patients, customers. So it's kind of different. You manufacture a hard object, right? A hard product. So you need to kind of apply it differently. Especially like the cost driver will be different. We are not really looking for units, labor hours or machinery hours or setup times, right? So you are looking for maybe the patient days, patient bed, right? Or the operational hours, right? So when doing operation surgery, how long it will take, and then how you accumulate the cost for the surgeon, right? And the cost for the anesthesia procedures and like the nursings, right? The other like carrying, personnel. So that's all the different ways you can think about in healthcare, which is different from the other industries. But here they talk about the hospital renting. There's some extra space to separately owned. Okay, we are not really checking the operation of the medical center. It's actually checking the pediatricians, like the pediatric renting the hospital gave to a separate entity. So you are kind of analyzing like the pediatric renting, or like, so pediatric clinic, but we are renting the beds from the general hospital. So you are making decisions. How many beds, okay, how many beds I rent from the hospital to deal with my own patient service. So 60 beds or 80 beds. And what's because it's depending on your own patient's volume as well. So they give us some like background information, and I believe the hospital charge variable expenses like for the food, like the meals. Janitory, we don't have, janitory is a fixed charge, but the laundry, lab services, pharmacy, right there, and even like billing and collections. So if you delegate your billing and the collection of the bills also given to the general hospital, they charge as variable expenses like per patient days, right? So per patient per day. So those are variable expenses. And then we do have the fixed expense related to the janitorial service, cleaning, and then related to the facility level expenses. So repair, general admin, and especially the rent of the hospital bed, depending on, I think, the number of the bed. And this one is given by 60, I believe, a full year for 60 bed. I think they do have the information. Yeah, here I want to mark. Okay, so you need to put this information correctly. But first, like I'm saying, if you design the system, you need to collect data first. This data already organized, right? So very streamlined. But in the beginning, if you work as the manager, like accounting or overall management, you need to sort out all of your data and clean it and transform in a way you can analyze or use whatever your modelings. So this information we have it here is variable and fixed. Okay, think about it, you probably already think, oh, how I can construct a contribution margin income statement, right? So based on here, but we need the sales revenue, right, for the whole income analysis. And we have a average per patient charge per day is $390. And now it's coming to the pricing side. And how did you decided this 390, right? So it's about the insurance payments, right? So average insurance payments per patient per day, or is this something you analyze it from your own cost information? Okay, so 390, but anyway, it's here. Depending on like the case. Oh, regarding our because I think Lauren asked me about I don't find the pricing information for the clinic by iPhone. So I send you guys a link. That's only a sample. Okay, your chosen clinic may have different pricing than mine. No problem. Okay, you can use your own, or you can use mine as a reference. Okay, but I pick up something. But I can remember, because I have twin girls, twin daughters. They are already in college now. But 20 years ago, when they were born, and they stay in the ICU from the Children's Hospital, the Texas Children's Hospital in the medical center. I still remember the bills I received for the ICU. That's 20 years ago. Per day, the charge. Have a guess how much? In the children's, basically premise
Per
ICU.
day.
Yeah, per day, the charge is
800.
how much?
40.
40?
800.
No, we're in the
800.
thousands. We're in the thousands per
You
day.
they have all of the machines, these monitors right on the hearts, and 2,500.
Oh my
Mm.
gosh.
That's 20 years ago. 2,500 per day. But I was so lucky. Yeah, I still so blessed because I was working as like a research assistant. I was still at my PhD study at the time, but the insurance covered almost everything except for about like a couple of hundred co-payments. For me, I would our family already went bankruptcy if we have to pay the bills by ourselves, even like half of them or something.
Wow.
Yeah, amazing. I don't know now. That's like you can see why people complaining, right, about this. But my girls were kind of at the critical condition that time, especially one of them, she got complications, and the other one just need more time, right? They are premature and twins, and one stayed in the ICU for 4 weeks, and the other one stayed, I believe, 6 weeks before they return home. But that's really something I learned about this healthcare system in a hard way. So, but anyway, so think about this. But you can see here, I think that's probably a normal charge. right? Like, it's not really some complicated conditions, regular, right? So something. But anyway, I'm just, linking to the, the real experience. And then they have the personnel, right? So nursing, pediatricians, but anyway, the personnel cost, they have certain levels. So it's not a pure, remember, we talk about the semi-variable cost. So it's not really a pure variable or pure fixed. So it's like a step by step. Because up to a certain level, so we have 3 levels of the patient days, right? So how many aides, nursing, and the personnel we need, right? So it's kind of a mixed or step variable type of cost. And right now, I believe is on the middle level. So, but if you jump too much, right? So you rent to like additional beds, or you admit more patients, it may jump to higher levels. But this is the background information. We have 2 requirements. So seeking for analysis. So first one is the break even. So break even based upon the current 60 bed, okay, for the full year. And so I can just quickly share, you can see, but you can check this in more details later. We got the revenue here, right? So you can see. So revenue per patient days, and then variable cost per unit. But the unit here is patient a day. So we got, because you divide with this, believe we have a 700,000 is your sales revenue. And that's you got the like the volume. 7.8 million is your revenue. Okay, 390 times the 60 bed. Okay, let me put it here. Times the 60 bed times 365. Oh, it mentioned it in the beginning, yet, but you can do the calculation is like this, you got it. But I believe the 7.8 is somewhere in the question. Oh, here. Yep, I will do this quickly. Okay, but anyway, so we can find out, so use the total revenue divided by the pricing, so we can know right now the level of the volume is 20,000 patient days. Okay, like that's our current service volume. Then you use the total variable expense divided by the volume, so we can get the variable cost per unit. So per patient day. So we have a contribution margin, like you think you can evaluate this is high or too low, right, or reasonable. So 200 contribution margin per patient per day. Okay, for each patient is average. And there may be variety, like differences, right? So some like patients need more time, and there is more like needing more care. So it may not even odd, right? So think about, that maybe ABC costing is more reasonable. They take consideration into the different levels of required care from different patients, okay, rather than just average them, okay, per day. And sometimes the workload for patients, for one patient can be actually more double than the regular patients. But here is all averaged out. And then adding, so you can now use the formula. Okay, your total cost will be the one we see in the chart, and plus the personnel cost, okay, at this level of service. Okay, they treat it as a step fixed cost, okay, rather than variable cost. So personnel step fixed cost. So at this level, you can see the break even is 80,400 patient days, and you are operating at 20,000. So we are above the break even, and you can earn some profits, but I guess wouldn't be a lot. Okay, you can find out what the actual profits now, but I believe it wouldn't be too much. And the quick way is we can see this is my safety margin, right? Because 20,000 above 1,600. My safety margin is 1,600. This is 20,000 minus my break even. Then times the contribution margin. You can see very quickly we can find out the profit 32,000 only. Oh no, 4 zeros. Oh, 320,000. That's your profit. Okay, even the question didn't ask. So this is our current profit. Okay, then you think about like that is the current, right? So default conditions of break-even analysis and the final income. And then they give you another situation. So I probably will leave you this to check because I know it's already over time. They have a proposal, right? So think about, okay, I want to increase the capacity because under the like first 3 months, like 90 days, so we can use more beds because we have more patients like request. So we can rent additional 20 additional beds, but for 90 days only, because that's like the not really whole year, right? So it's like seasonal demand. So in that case, if you want to rent 20 more beds, we can get additional revenue, like changing analysis, right? So we add additional revenue, and also we are going to add additional variable expenses, right? So we still use the 190 as a variable cost per unit. But the fixed cost, if you rent the 20 bed, even you only rent for 90 days, but the hospital will charge a annual rate. Right? So that's something you need to really consider very carefully. Okay, they wouldn't really say, oh, I only charge you for 90, but not the whole year. So you can see they use their average charge per bed per year. That's very expensive for me, and that's actually the thing. So per bed for per year is 52,000 something per bed. And now we are renting additional 20 beds. So you can see that's become a very high fixed expense. At this point, I already know I should not, have this idea, right? So because apparently I haven't worried about my personnel cost increase yet. Only for the rental, I wouldn't make a single extra dollar. Actually, it costs me more money. It's like I'm going to lose more eating my current profits. It's not really something feasible, right? So it makes sense. But I'm just talk about the analyze approach, right? But you can argue with negotiate with the hospital if they don't really use the 20 beds for other purpose. So if you can negotiate this down, so convincing them, right? And if they don't use it, right, so they are not getting any money, right? So if you can convince them, you can charge, like you can get a rental only for the days you used, or by any other way, but I think it's very hard, right, to bring this much less the current dollars. But the personnel wouldn't increase. Okay, that's interesting because by increasing these 20 beds, we still can maintain our current personnel. Okay, these are analysis. So it wouldn't go over the current level. Okay, that we still can stay in the current fixed cost. So no additional personnel fixed cost. So, but even in that case, I didn't go over. But probably I didn't copy. not moving. But anyway, if you just use 342 minus, so we are going to lose almost 700,000. Okay, change of the earnings is a, how much the number? I did it. So it's get it right. So I'm done after this. Paste the number. Okay. So negative, almost a negative 700,000. Oh, you better not do it unless, right? So you can maybe like charge more, like maybe for some special patients, or get this done significantly. Okay, below, you can see, again, that's give you a negotiation point. So what's the maximum rental charge I can accept? Because if over that, it doesn't make sense, right? So like for us to do the rental, right? So that's, again, okay, this is only an example. So we can focus on more on the analysis rather than the numbers. So you can check the point rather than you reject this proposal and how you can make it as a acceptable idea, right? So for example, I really want to increase my capacity. Okay, is any possible I can increase the revenue or maybe reduce the variable expense, and in the meantime, negotiate down the rental significantly. Okay, so that's kind of, so other ways. So I believe the next, the second group of project will be related to CVP and also the short-term decisions we introduce after the spring break. We will combine something together. Okay, I like this kind of analysis a lot. Okay, like I mentioned. I think, yeah, it's already over time. Okay, so any other questions I can address? And for Thursday, I'm open for any recommendations on the way when we meet. So you can tell me, or like, maybe even email me. So what do you want me to do on Thursday? So, going over more practice, or, some other, you have questions, certainly I can answer, or any other things, for the project or for the home, even like for preparing the exam. Okay, I'm opening to, so any suggestions, I will keep it really flexible. Okay, so depending on the request. Okay, so what do we better cover? Okay. So, or even like from the prior chapters, okay, either any a topic I want to clarify, or do more practice on some of like all. I'm thinking also I can go over, because I posted some exam practice questions, but I still see not really, because probably still we have time. Not quite people like students started on that yet. So if you like, we can go over some of the exam practices. Okay, that's also, we can do that. Okay, but just let me know what's the best way, okay, we can do for Thursday.
I think